Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to be, well, finishing the tool support that we started a few months ago for Technologic. And, well, this time around it's me who's streaming. And let me turn down the music a bit. I think it's a bit too loud. So, just to, the first thing that we're going to do is actually pull in main to fix the broken link down here. And then, well, we're going. The idea is that anyone who knows a lick of JavaScript can actually, create tools here. But as I said, first things first, let's pull in the latest changes from main. And, well, Eduardo is around.
Yep. I'm here to provide
moral support.
Yeah, moral support. That's what I was looking for.
So
I wanted to get my head out of the way from this corner. I'm not 100% sure how to do that.
Where do you want to go? Next to me?
Yeah, I'll just put my head over here. Should be good enough.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have that. And pull in main. Is it actually on main yet?
The tool support? I don't think so.
No, the change where you fixed the logo.
I thought so. Or did we forget to merge the PR?
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Let me bring up Technologic. Okay, you did that.
Yeah, it's on main.
Is on main. Oh, okay. It is. It was showing just the branch that I'm on. Okay, so let's. Where is it? I want. Yeah. Merge main into this. There we go. Let's close all that up, and we have the Express AI logo where it should be. Okay, so let's take a deep breath, stretch a bit, and let's go. So what we have here is, let's make that a bit bigger again. We currently define our tools in here where it says tools, and they have like their own prompts and tool explanations. I was thinking that the first thing that we could do is actually make use of OpenAI's tool support that they've added after we initially did this.
Yeah, those copycats.
The big question for me though is, can we make this agnostic? So what I mean here is we have I want to be able to support multiple backends, right? And we have here as we have under backends, we have OpenAI create backend, and that will create something that has this send message and stream methods. But if we go back, that is something that most LLMs would support, right? And we're not using anything about OpenAI's API here. Rather, well, we are using OpenAI's API. What I mean is we are not using their client. Like we're just using raw fetch for this.
That might make things, I guess, easier. Or it's like a special output token, so it does show up in the result.
So I guess then the first thing that we're doing is learn about how to use that, right? Let's go here and let's see. So function calling. Oh, interesting. They don't show an example of using it with just raw curl like they do in. No, they don't even show that anymore. Interesting.
Yeah. But I think if you go to the API, like the guides, yeah. But if you go like to the API documentation, it should be there. I think there was something like that.
I hate it when they hide things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's in here. Okay, we're not coding anyway, so completions. There we have the completion object. We're fine with no streaming. Let's go to curl. So yeah, we have the model, the prompt. Oh yeah, we want the chat API, not the completions API too. So create a chat completion with curl function calling. Okay, so the thing that we are sending then looks a bit different.
So
previously we had just the messages here. Yeah. Now we would add
functions.
That.
And we have to have like the whole function signature and stuff like that. Kind of like
we
parse.
Do have. So let's go back to the tools here. And the tool definitions. Okay, those tools are no-op tools, essentially. But if we take, for example, the calculator tool, we actually define methods, arguments, documentations for them, explanations, and we have examples. All in a structured form. So I guess that should be good enough to get this going. Because they have the name of the function, the description, the parameters. Not quite sure.
Yeah, the types are an interesting thing that we didn't.
Yeah, really... this type is kind of interesting. I don't get why it's, or rather, why it is in here.
It might be a convention. I think it's not necessarily have to be a convention, but the parameters is an object, and then it tells you the. Yeah, you have to have an object as the parameters, and then the different, parameters of the function are listed there.
Okay, so, cool.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but I'm kind of thinking about how we would do that in the XAI LLM server, like getting function calling in Llama.
Okay, and then we get the arguments as a serialized.
Yeah. JSON string.
JSON. Okay. So let's see. What can we do with this? Or how can we do that? So the conversation broker is where the tool use happens. So at the moment we have choose tool, which kind of goes through this, I guess, thing where it is, where it has like this prompt to tell it, well, you're the tool selector and everything. Do we need to do that in this case? Or how would that
actually
work? Because
like that's actually an interesting thing. I think so if you're using a custom backend that doesn't have function calling, then this choose tool would be necessary. But if not, you don't need to prompt it about this. Like by providing functions, then the prompt is already there. So there's still a tool. You could do a tool chooser, right? It's just a separate thing. And that's where you list the functions. And then it will pick one and call it. So I think you could just like abstract that part out of the prompting part itself. You still render the instructions, but that's a different kind of rendering for OpenAI. And then for the other backends, it's this.
How will we do this? Okay, so we do have kind of, it feels like if we go with the OpenAI approach, we would. I'm wondering whether we maybe need a different conversation broker, like altogether. That is because if we are thinking of, for example, an entirely different model like RWKV. There, if we want to generate an answer, we would get the history of the current conversation, pick the last message and only send that, kind of to continue a conversation. So I'm wondering whether maybe of conversation broker and backend should be together, so that this choose tool thing shouldn't be, so that this choose tool thing would be within the within the backend. Guess it's kind of backend specific.
True. Yeah.
Or we could, we could just hack something in for now, just to see how well the OpenAI tool chooser works.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's start. Kinda. So we comment this out. So previously we would do what? So previously we would, have some sub-conversations essentially going on, right? Now with OpenAI, this way of doing things. Is this still
I mean,
visible?
I still think it's still sub conversations, right? So what we are doing with the tool chooser, I think, is actually a good idea. Like, it should be considered a good practice for function calling on ChatGPT, because every time you provide those functions, meaning a good amount of tokens, like way more than you would expect from just the parameter listing and stuff like that. And if it's not going to be picking a tool, right? Like, if that's not its job, then you save tokens by not providing functions. So I think the structure is fine. And it's just that the way it's implemented when using function calls would be different. Although maybe we're skipping a step, because like I think before we had what is the appropriate tool, then we had now use the tool. Or in this case, you know, the tool chooser would be calling it. So maybe we don't necessarily the chooser, we just provide the functions to the tool user, if that's what we called it.
So let's see. We sent a message. We currently sent a request with whatever the payload is, and we currently build the payload with model temperature messages. So if we want to make that work, we would need to add functions in here, right?
I think so.
So, and we need to have function call as something too. Have if functions payload its functions and payload call is something. So what is that supposed to be? Function call controls how the model calls function. None means the model will not call a function and instead generate a message. Auto means the model can pick between generating a message or calling a function. Specifying a particular function via name my function forces the model to call a function. None is the default when no functions are present. Auto is the default when functions are present. So if we go auto here, that means it will just, like, it can produce a function call. If we go about it the way it was before, like choose tool and then call function, that gives us kind of two steps. In one, we can provide it with more details about the functions, and then we could force it to call a function which is choose a tool or something like that.
Yeah. And since we also have no ops, you know, that works out too, I think.
And that would be kind of close to what we had before.
Yeah.
Given that we always return just the message here, maybe it adding functions here isn't the appropriate place. Maybe we want to actually expose the request method for now. And it is complaining because request doesn't exist on backend. Oh, that is something that we can change. What is over? Yeah, okay. Yeah, using unknown, so it doesn't complain that we are using any. But it is producing a promise response. Let's have that here too. Okay, that gives us the ability to now send arbitrary requests. And with that we can go back to our nifty little conversation broker and redo the way how it uses those things. So the instruction prompt can still be literally like that, but instead of sending a message, we would send a request. And now we can modify how exactly that should look like. Let's change that back to curl so we see something. Let's quickly check that out again. So we do only set the headers. The entire payload is up to us right now. So what we would do in this case is then the model is based on backend currently set model. The temperature is based on the backend temperature. The message, or the messages that we have here, just the tool selection prompt. And we have a function whose name is choose tool. Its description is select a proper word task. The parameters then can be this type object, as it has to be, and properties. Currently I'm wondering why I'm putting everything like that. The JSONification is going to have a data point, so it can be just a proper object. Okay, so we have our properties, and the property is called tool. Its type is a string. The description is the chosen tool for the given task. So we have the properties, and on the same level we have required this tool. And the uppermost level we have function call. And so going back to the docs here, function call, we can specify that it has to call choose tool, right? So if we go about it exactly like that.
That's an interesting idea.
Let's see, we get there. So let's see, what is the sum of and so we had a few things. That we have the prompt, and yeah, okay, we were awaiting a promise, and that is our result here. And in choices it has a message where it is calling the calculator tool. Let's make that a bit. So there are a few things. First of all, we have to await this. So that is response JSON. And with our response JSON, we can kind of look into the choices, and we take the first one, and there is a message, and that message has a function call, and that thing needs to be JSON passed. Then we pick the tool. I guess that's what we put in here, like that. And well, we don't need to use the .tool name. Well, if we call the tool name, we can drop that thing, and I guess it should literally work like before. So let's save and fork that and run again. So could not pass the response from the tool selector. I guess I've messed something up here. Let's see. So best naming of all time. Have right. should be like that.
You should also maybe log that error too when you catch it.
I mean, previously it would only be like, well, couldn't pass the thing. Now, obviously, there is more to it. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so we have our response. Shouldn't it be logging more here when it does that? Okay, so let's see. We have that thing, the JSON, and we go to choices, 0, message, function call. Oh, arguments. Okay, yeah. Let's try again. Okay. We have that. So the first part has worked. And I guess we can actually drop quite a bit of the prompt there. However, it doesn't include a reason for the things that it does yet. And I always liked giving it a little bit of space to think about things.
Yeah, and it should come first, yeah.
Oh, hey, cool. We have someone the first time asking questions here. So, hey there, Barbin. And Freeman is also around. Cool. So, Freeman is asking whether we have ever used ChatGPT without a spatial encoding. Okay. I didn't, to be honest.
But I have seen that. So in one of the last hackathons that I went to, it's the SF AGI house. There's like apparently a controversial thing. They did a build your own LLM hackathon. And what the people did there was they wanted to fine-tune vision into Llama 2. And their idea for doing that was using an OCR system first, and then using the outputs of the OCR system as the kind of spatial encoding in an interesting way. So yeah, there's totally a lot of things you can do with when you're like kind of customizing transformers. Now they weren't able to successfully get it to train though, which wasn't surprising because, you know, like there wasn't a lot of time. It was only a few hours, and the fine-tuning scripts out there are all about the output. They're not about modifying the input. So it's way more involved than you would expect. And I don't think you can fine-tune your way out of that, right? Like you gotta probably train your model from scratch on these new types of embeddings. But yeah, totally doable.
An interesting thing that I see here is that, at least in the way how it is produced here, it has put reason after the tool name. Now, I'm wondering whether I can kind of force it to, or you know what? If I do it that way, so that it is required to provide reason first, tool name second. Maybe that will work. So let's do this and run. And oh, I see that I didn't put that into the visible space here. So now that we asked it to do it in a particular fashion, yeah, now it is doing reason first, tool name second. That's neat, because kind of remind everyone who is watching, all of those GPT based things, they do like one thing first. Verin is like, it's a good thing that there's still jobs out there for lower life firms for like myself. There will be, and there will continue to be. Like, yeah, sure, some jobs will be replaced, but if you know how to use a tool like that, or how to build your own tools on top of it, you will be like 10x more productive than other people. So if you learn about those things, you are less likely to be actually replaced with that. It's like, yeah, people who have been pounding things into other things with their fists certainly have been kind of replaced by hammers. But, you know, if you know how to use a hammer properly, you now don't have to use your fists for it.
Yeah.
And we have been like creating tools for whatever long, and kind of yeah, like paper hasn't replaced people, it hasn't replaced memory. Well, it has in a way. Like paper can remember things a lot better than I can.
Yeah. Oh, and then when it comes to the question of automation for the autopilot, like in the cockpit, that's another rant I could go into, mainly because so you know, as a Tesla owner, right, there's a feature called autopilot, and it is an autopilot. As someone who knows what aviation, like how aviation actually works, an autopilot might mean something different to an actual pilot, or, you know, a student, than the regular person, right? Like a regular person hears autopilot and thinks, oh, it does everything, right? But little do they know, right, that an autopilot does not really do everything, right? It doesn't take off. It doesn't really, you know, change plans or anything like that. And it usually doesn't land the plane, right? There's a whole different system for landing in like super low visibility. Those are called like category 3 autopilot systems, right? But like what's in Teslas is similar to what a pilot calls an autopilot, which is, you know, it holds the plane level, or it holds the plane in a specific climb, or it holds the plane at a certain heading or turn rate, right? So it's like, you know, it's not piloting the thing, it's kind of like keeping it steady. And you can, of course, you know, the sophisticated ones, you know, you have a whole plot route, and so it will go this heading for a few minutes, and then once it reaches this GPS point, it will go to another heading. But, you know, it's not like looking at the clouds and avoiding weather or anything like that, right? Like that's what the pilot's really for. So because of that, there are people who kind of have weird expectations when it comes to like Tesla autopilot, and they sometimes pay the price for that. But similarly, right, in a similar fashion, right now Microsoft is calling everything co-pilots, and that's another load of bullshit, because a co-pilot is actually a pilot, right? Like when you have two pilots in a cockpit, there's the pilot in command, right? And pilot monitoring. That's the way they've done things, right? And the captain and the first officer, they switch who's flying the plane, who's in command, and who's monitoring, so that they both get experience and things like that. And the co-pilot has a whole role, right, for the pilot, and that is not what Microsoft Copilot does. Like it's like so wrong in so many levels, so I really hate the names of that. But yeah, I think the most advanced planes today, like things like the Honda Jet, have a ton of automation in the cockpit, and that makes it so that if you have a single pilot, you can fly the plane safer, right? A lot of the work of flying a plane by yourself is flying the plane and communicating on the radios, and like debugging some weird issue or something like that while things are flying, while trying to navigate on the clouds. It's like a lot of stuff. And back in the day, there were 3 or 4 people in the cockpit, because doing all the navigation was quite a lot of work, right? You had to do math on paper to figure out how far the next beacons are, and how much time is left before you need to make the next turn, and tuning the radios and all that kind of stuff. And that's all stuff that automation now does for you. It's not using AI, but those are definitely things that I think it could, right? Like if you have a flight plan, like there's no reason why you have to enter it in manually, like a lot of things can be done automatically. And if the other thing is one thing that can really up the workload for pilots is like when you're coming into an airport, ATC might tell you that a different runway is in use than the one you were planning for, right? Because like during the most of the time, depending on the weather, like one runway is the most obvious one to use, and it's usually written down. But like if there's some sort of accident or something goes on, right, they might switch your runways, and that means that now you have to reprogram, like the whole automation to get it to follow the right route. That's something that if we had more, like real AI in the cockpit that could understand the radio signals and just make that into a, looks like ATC said that now, Kappa whatever is the pattern to get in the landing. Should I change that for you? Yes. Boom. Right? Like that would be amazing. So I think there's plenty of space for that. But the most important thing to keep in mind, which is like IBM, when they were, way back in the day, like 50s, right? They had a very specific thing in their manual that should be like plastered on the walls in a lot more places, which is that a computer can never be held responsible, right? It's just, they had a whole page, that's all that was written on that page. And then the next part of the manual, kind of got into specifics of that and stuff like that. But that's why we have a pilot, right? A pilot is responsible for the lives of the people on the plane, or the cargo, or themselves, right? The lives of people outside the plane. And yeah, if we take AI too far, it's possible to, make it so that, oh, the computer was responsible for that. The computer don't give 2 shits, right? Right? Like you could turn it off, it's not gonna care, right? So yeah, there's so many places in aviation where you could use automation and like make lives much easier and make everything safer. But you can't take the pilot out of the equation completely, because that's where the responsibility stops. And when in the automation stuff that we're doing, our plan is really to enable people to be a lot more productive, right? Like one person in the future, like one person today is way more productive than one person 30 years ago or 40 years ago, right? And that trend has to continue. So that's why we're trying to make computers think. And it's an interesting challenge. So yeah, that's enough for my rant.
Yeah, I'm while you were ranting, I was kind of trying to do the next step. So our tool selector works perfectly fine with OpenAI's new APIs. But actually using those tools now is a bit more complicated, mostly because I don't remember JavaScript anymore.
You should switch everything to Rust. Just like right now.
Like I forget everything all the time anyway. So properties is an object. I need to turn a list of objects into an overall object. I remember there being some kind of nice API to do that.
Yeah, there is a little
AI. I could literally go.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I merge a list of objects into one object in JavaScript? The problem is that it will also kind of go through this thing, try to do tools, and crash because fail. I'm working on it right now.
Yeah, ... list.
Okay, so
yeah,
I had that right on my mind. So this thing is just.
I'm not sure about that map.
Complicated because I need. I think it was something like that. Yeah, need that.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you want.
I mean, the map is to create the list of objects, the naming. Actually, I wasn't collecting the type, but I guess it's always string for now then. And I mean, who says that Lisp does stack a lot of parentheses? It's like ending this thing. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parentheses.
Yeah. That's another interesting question. So, uses an embedding based on a different approach. Sentence 1, subject word embedding. That's the embedding scheme based on a grammar. I don't think I've seen. So there's no reason why. Okay, so this might go into a kind of historical thing, right? Back in the day, way back, like 2016, which doesn't really seem like that long, but in AI terms, that's a really, really long time. We would take word-to-vec vectors and stuff them into LSTMs to do the kind of stuff that transformers do right now. Later on, it became a lot more popular to have the embeddings be something that is learned along with the model, right? So you don't start with, I mean, you could, right? There was ways to take a word-to-vec embedding table and initialize your embeddings to that and then start training. But yeah, now, if I'm not mistaken, embeddings are trained along with the transformer. So they all start from scratch, not zeros. They start randomly, right? And then they're trained as the model trains. And the model leverages a lot of information in its embeddings, right? Like it's putting, as it's training, it's leveraging the signal that's in the embeddings a lot, and it's completely opaque to how the model is trained. Remember, everything starts out random, and then we do a training and there's an error, and everything that just so happened to be right is kept, and everything that just so happened to be wrong is minimized, right? So, and since we do this random thing every time we train a new model, the embeddings are, they're essentially meaningless from one model to another, but within that model, they're completely meaningful. And if you use that embedding table as something like for our vector database, right, then that has meaning. But yeah, doing stuff with those embeddings and then feeding it into a transformer, it's not that it hasn't been done, and it's not that it can't be done, but it's not something I've seen in a long time. So it could be a thing. And then, yeah, so the interesting thing is when so you asked about, like, aren't they tokenized by word frequency and ish? So there's multiple ways to do the tokenization for a model. One of the first ways, right, like when we started, just like any other NLP thing, we took out words and then did words. Other times we tried letters, and letters can work okay. But then whenever you made a vocabulary of any sort, you would limit the languages that your model could do. So the transformers today, they are automatically like, so there was multiple algorithms out there to tokenize everything in your input data as efficiently as possible. So the more likely something was, the smaller its number would be, and that's more or less kind of how it worked. And that's more or less what's happening right now. So the more popular a particular pattern is in an input, that gets assigned, like a small token, or like it's just one token. And things that are less popular combinations statistically become 2 tokens, and things that are less even more statistically become 3, and so on. So yeah, they're kind of like they're kind of like that, and it's automated, so you do kind of have to like look it up. And right now they're kind of like using byte pair encoding for all those things. So tokens are fixed, but is there a linear map from token to key to query to value? I wouldn't say linear, but the tokens are involved in that, right? Like, so there's the query, there's the key, right, and the value, and those are weight matrices that are based off of the kind of embedding in the token, right? So like when it experiences a certain token, then it changes, like the query changes to match that token. So if it gets a word that is like a verb or something, and it's in English mode, it knows that it needs to query things before and things after to get the object and the subject of those things. So it's not a linear map, but it is a map. And that's like one of the major parameters of how it's done.
I'm kind of so just changing the subject entirely because I'm kind of stuck here. This gives me not quite what I wanted to have. like this.
The reason why I say it's not linear is because there's non-linearities in this stuff. If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's kind of why. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so I'm currently kind of stuck on this particular transform. Because it does not give me the thing that I expected to give me. Man, this is way too zoomed in. Can I? Okay, this looks better. So, I'm trying, as I was saying, I'm trying to merge multiple objects that I have in a list into another object, but for whatever reason it kind of turns it into more of a well, it puts the indices in there. So I'm kind of feeling like I'm missing something, but maybe it's just direct assign with that, then we go like this. Let's see. Save and fork. Add things here and go.
What is it transforming it to?
We should have that here. So now it. Oh, now it's still broken.
So 0 is that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go back to the code real quick because I think I know what that is. Okay, we are.
Should it be like?
Yeah.
That? No.
That's the same as what it was before, though.
No, before it was slightly different. It wasn't with object assign. It was directly within.
Yeah, but that should be equivalent. No. So okay. So you don't want properties to be an array, right? Want to be a thing, right? But we're calling map, and map is returning a list of stuff.
Doing it that way seems to have worked. So this kind of needed a double spread. So previously it was like like that. And it was spreading the array.
Yeah.
And what we then kind of needed was some kind of double spread, and with object assign, that worked out. So then in the result, it produces our the function call. And interestingly enough, because the instructions tell it, and I'm again not showing what I'm talking about. Interestingly enough, in the instructions we tell it to produce a JSON for to call something, and to include the reasons there. So I'm wondering, because I don't necessarily want to include that. Like, I don't necessarily want to include reason in here. Whether it will produce the content first and the function call second. But I guess first step is to get the tool response going from here. So choices 0 message call.
Okay, and back to Freeman's question. So so from my understanding, they're not linear because the positional encoding is a non-linearity. So the first multi-head attention gets its input from the inputs going through a non-linearity. And then right after that, there's the normalization, which is, I think, a non-linearity, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It depends on I don't know, layer norm. I got to look it up. But yeah, and then the next thing kind of is a feed forward, right? And then that feed forward typically will have a non-linearity in it, if I'm not mistaken. And then that is one block, right? And then that goes into the next one. So I think they're not necessarily, I mean, it depends on what position encoding is. You could totally have a linear position encoding. So it can kind of work. It's like a weird thing. The reason why the non-linearities exist in deep learning models is to kind of give it something to train. Like that's the idea. And it is possible to train a model without any linearities, or like without any non-linearities, because floating point is non-linear. So like possible, yes. Like it doesn't work mathematically. So that's why the non-linearities are there, and those things that kind of add extra stuff to it. So you kind of, to avoid things getting multiplied by 0, you add a non-linearity, essentially is the idea. But the tokens, yeah, those, if I'm not mistaken, are just a matrix multiply. So, and those don't have linearity. So yeah, you can add stuff, and the positional encoding is adding stuff. So that's why you could totally like add X and Y things to it. So yeah, it's something I haven't seen a lot, but yeah, the gist of what you're saying makes sense. You can do something like that.
Okay, so one step forward, not necessarily very far. So I'm currently replacing the previous approach here a little, and we do get our tool response, and it has content and function call and arguments and name, and I think, yeah, if I go function call here, then I should get the proper output. Let's see. An interesting thing is that it feels like it's faster to do some things.
Yeah, the function call. Okay, there's two things. One, the function calling stuff is definitely faster than what we were doing before. And two, GPT-4 has gotten a little bit faster recently. So I'm afraid it's gotten
it is using GPT 3.5 actually.
Oh, okay. That's already fast.
Interesting. That now has kind of chosen to not do the function call. So I mean, I'm using auto here because there can be multiple functions that it can choose. I kind of wanted to, you know, force to choose a function.
Wasn't there like there was auto, none, and wasn't there another one?
Yeah, the third one is specifying a particular function to call, but I don't want to specify a particular one. It needs to choose one of those that it has.
Oh, wait, didn't we have a choose tool as the function? So we could say you have to choose tool.
Yeah, no, that works. Like
Okay.
to choose a tool. We could go with choose function and then force it to choose a what's that stuff? Yeah, and as this third step, kind of choose the parameters to that particular function. That could be one way of going about it, but that feels kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like in principle, it should be able to do that. In most cases,
yeah,
it did that.
We shouldn't underestimate the stupidness of these models. Like GPT 3.5 is pretty dumb, but yeah, it's dumb sometimes. So if we can guard against it being stupid, it's probably better to do it that way.
Yeah, if we can guard against that, that is true. Also, its math is usually not that good. So, yeah, choosing the tool to use. That seemed to work just fine. Choosing a function or choosing a method appears to kind of break it. I mean, if there's only one thing that it can call, that's annoying. I would so much more prefer if there wasn't like if I didn't have to do that. Okay, so we've chosen a tool, and
we can always just say, if it doesn't work, just use GPT-4, which probably will work.
That is like I didn't want to make it OpenAI specific. Now you suggest make it specific to a specific model.
I mean, if it's not working for you, right? Like if you tell it, I need you to do something, and it's too dumb to use the right tool for the job, and you know, we either guard for that, or tough. Like you gotta use a smarter model. I'm not suggesting that we automatically start using a different model in here or something like that. It's more like if you tell it, hey, what's 10 plus whatever, right? And it doesn't choose the thing, then switch the model to something more capable to understand. If you want it, so if you really need it to work,
So we have choose method, and we will have then a method name. Chosen method. So we force it to select a method. let's just see what it is. So we have that here, and we have this full response, and I should have added await this yeah, let's see, temp is that is fulfilled, and it has chosen a method, and given that the task requires this, therefore the method execute from the functions tool. Interesting.
Freeman has another interesting question, which is interesting because we've kind of tried something. I mean, like, okay, so the question is, have we ever seen transformer which doesn't have n inputs and n outputs, but one input and one output, and you feed it like the sum of a bunch of tokens? And so not a transformer, right? Like the transformer kind of needs multiple tokens. You know, if you don't, then that's just feed forward thing, right? And you could totally take the embeddings of a bunch of different, like a whole sentence, right, word by word, average them together, add them together. Usually average is better, and then send that through a feed forward to do a classification, right? Or, you know, even the next token. It doesn't work very well. The reasoning is interesting. The reason why it doesn't work too well is that when you average stuff together, they kind of like lose their specific meaning, right? And it just becomes a blob. Like you can kind of think of it as becoming a meaningless blob, right? Like, you know, if you had a sentence like it was first hot and then it's cold, right? If you average that together, you know, you kind of expect it to be warm, right? But there's other stuff in there. It doesn't necessarily you know, average together very well. And also encoding an entire sentence as one hot vector, like not one hot but n hot things, is totally a thing we used to do before. And you know, it kind of sucked. It didn't work as well as transformers work, right? Like they're a special thing. You know, we, like before in the NLP space, right? We've definitely tried various ways to make language models or classifiers or things like that, and they got their ass handed to them by BERT, right? Essentially. Yeah, and then when it comes to language modeling, these are totally better. They're not. So the tokens by ChatGPT, those are indexes into an embedding, right? So each one of those represents you know, like an embedding, not necessarily just like a raw one hot vector into the model. Yeah, so it's like multiplying a big matrix by one thing to extract the vector of that thing. So each one is a vector.
Okay. to interject here. We are making progress.
Oh, cool.
So it is I introduced the additional call so that it asks it to select a method first, and then it can once it has chosen a method, it forces it to provide the parameters for that method. And that is, I guess, working. I mean, not just I guess, it is working. I tested with both the calculation, which works perfectly fine now. Like if you take a look at the results that it previously produced, we actually get the correct result. And with looking things up in vector, so that works fine now, I guess. I think the refactoring will be something to be done off stream. But we can do something different now. And that is actually build the UI for defining tools.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice, like not just backends, backup. Yes, go there, tools.
Actually, I kind of feel like I want to move backends. Maybe not move backends, but like if I want to change.
There's a thing that we want to do that is add a button to actually create an additional backend, because at the moment you kinda
can't. Yeah.
You can't really. I can, because I have the button for it. Rather, I have the source code, and I can either edit directly or edit in the in the local storage where things are saved. But without it, it supports multiple backends, but technically, kinda, but not quite. You could add, GPT-4. Let's see how GPT-4 does on that question. And we can watch it do things here in the console. Yeah, it certainly produces a longer output. Interesting. It has it shows or it uses multiple matches. Oh, on that note, how are you supposed to tell the result to ChatGPT when you're doing this? When you do function calls?
You add that to the conversation.
Yeah, but I mean,
in the conversation.
No, wait. In
Yeah, it says at the bottom in the role. Like if you look at the role, it says function.
Yeah, because we've been using system so far. And as function call, that is supposed to be name with arguments. Note that the model does not always generate valid JSON and may hallucinate parameters that are not defined.
Deal with it,
So what they expect us to do to edit But that is, you know, the function call. Like that.
That's
So
the
when
result.
we have,
I see.
yeah, how are you
Yeah.
supposed to show it the result?
That's a good question. I thought, I mean, we're using system. I thought that's how it would work. Is that not how it should work?
I have no idea. I mean, you could ask it, but it could decide that it wants to ask the encyclopedia. How are you supposed
It
to
wouldn't know.
provide results
No
to
way. It would know.
function call API of AI? It's probably like I have no
Like,
idea.
what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Because tools are kind of force enabled. Oh, interesting.
Actually,
It produces a bad request.
Hmm.
Why?
That's a good question.
Function call is invalid. What have we?
We have an empty.
Wait, have I added function call to something where it's not supposed to be? Ah. So as a result to choose method, it has given us a reason. Oh, I'm again not showing stuff. I apologize. So it has given us a reason. The user's query is not asking about information for a specific topic. How to use a function, therefore query function is not suitable for this task. Since there is no other function provided, I cannot choose a method in this case. Method name empty. So wait, it decides to, well, user is asking for information about a specific topic. The function call API of OpenAI. The encyclopedia tool would be the most appropriate tool to provide this information. And then it's like, no.
Is there anything wrong with just like try catching the entire tool chooser, and if it fails, skip it?
Yeah, I mean, it could. Yes, that is kind of the place where it could skip it. If we just don't return anything. In that case, maybe
Okay, so if I understand the function call thing, yeah, you add a message, role function, name of the call function, and then content, which is the content of the thing.
Okay. Expected. Oh. Let's try that thing again. And this time, I mean, it has only query as an option. It should have complaint. Yeah. But none was. What? Oh, you annoying little thing. So, yeah, response what you want. So it's like, it's not about a specific topic to query, but rather how to use an API. And it goes method name none.
GPT-4 is all sorts of cheeky.
Yeah. It just wants to be annoying.
It's how it's going to get us little by little, chipping away. And then it will finally launch the mission, the missiles.
Yeah. And yeah, then it's complaining like, yeah, the method that I'm supposed to call isn't in the list of things. Especially like that it is saying, well, it's not about a specific topic, but rather how to use an API. That is a topic you...
A topic
rage against the machine, right?
Rage against the machine.
Right. So that is very simple then. Get this. So in here, if
we are giving it a list, right?
Method name. I don't have that if already. So two methods. Fine. If that is, I think it goes undefined. If that is undefined, then we warn and go on. So let's try again. Yeah, Freeman, we are giving it a list to pick from.
Yeah.
And it's like, nope.
It's like your choices are A, B, and C, and it says none. You know, it's just like, it's kind of like that spam thing. It's like, what are your choices? I don't want spam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this time it decided to just go with, you know, just use it instead of complaining. Yeah, let's try again. Maybe it has noticed that we've raged against the machine, so... Now it's like, okay, let me try again. Yeah, and there it's like, couldn't select the method. Could have actually given us the reason why it doesn't like it. Yeah, the example that it comes up with is also useless. Like, if I was working at OpenAI, one of the things that I would train the thing on, like just include in the training, would be the docs on how to use it.
Yeah.
And then maybe, some additional things. Okay, so that works now. We've seen that if it can't do it for some reason, it can, add that to the console log. And it should give us a reason for why it has done that thing. Okay, so we have that now. Let's stretch a bit and think about what we've done and be ashamed. No. What I'd like to do now is a few things. One is kind of selecting or have a page for the tools that we have so that we can enable and disable them and add additional tools to it. So how would we go about that? Where do we want to put things? I think we're going to put them into local storage, just like we do with the conversations. And we create just another page to list all of them. So
yeah,
let's have a tools page. And I think, come on. So let's make this a little bigger. And we're going to just, now I think, literally lift a few things from here.
So that's an interesting, I guess, like question from Freeman again, which is something that OpenAI's APIs used to support, and they kind of got rid of it, which is the ability to look at the what was it called, log probs, the outputs. Yeah, right now they don't include that information anymore, so you can't kind of like make a smart system that, you know, like weights the outputs based off of what you expect. So if you're expecting it to output a JSON, right, and it needs to start with a curly brace, you can look for, you know, does it start with a curly brace or not, and then just force that, right, and then kind of go on with that. So yeah, they don't allow that in OpenAI, but you can do that in your own transformers. And it's something that I don't think people have really done too much of, right? The outputting of, like, the outputs of the model, they're doing beam search. And it's not clear that if you really want it to output like JSON, like, for example, proper JSON, and you kind of do like a hybrid beam search where you look through the beams for the next thing that would produce valid JSON. It's not clear if that would actually work very well, but it's something that probably should exist, especially for like local models where they might not be, you know, smart enough to do that kind of stuff. But at least I haven't seen any, like, there's places that there's libraries that allow you to like regex the output for things like JSON and stuff like that, but none that I've seen so far that allow you to say that, I need the output to be valid JSON. So, parse until it's invalid JSON, and then, pick the next, weight the next character based off of whether or not that would be valid JSON or not. And then YOLO it after that, because who knows what that would be like. No, that would be a cool library.
You mean a library that does that for OpenAI?
No, you can't do it with OpenAI. We don't have the information we need. It would have to be like replacing the beam search from the output of the model. So you take a token from the model, you could do it with OpenAI, but it would be crazy expensive, because you can do max tokens 1, and you can give it a weight for the tokens, right? So let's say you want the output to be JSON, so you can say the curly bracket weight is 100, everything else is 0. Then you want it to do max tokens 1. Then you relax your input weights and then get the next token. Crazy expensive. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was more thinking of a. I was thinking more of a. What is it? What was I thinking of? So for regular transformers, there are libraries already that can kind of modify the way how the beam search is done to enforce a particular JSON schema, for example.
That exists already?
Yeah, from Microsoft even.
I don't think that works that way.
I think. Let me try to find
that library called. I think I know which library you're talking about, but I don't think it works that way. It's not semantic kernel. Man, what was it called?
So there is guidance and there is JSON former. Guidance is, I think, from Microsoft.
Yeah, originally. And that doesn't work that way. It's like regular expression based. It was when I heard what it was, I thought it was like what you're talking about, how it would modify the beam search. But if at least the last time I looked at it, it wasn't that.
And then there is JSON former.
That sounds more useful.
And yeah, it gets a schema and like literal JSON schema. And it just wraps whatever you're using and generates the stuff for you. Not entirely sure how exactly it works. I mean, I guess we can literally look into it, but given that there is a logit processor, I think it works by literally modifying the probabilities, and that obviously modifies how exactly how exactly the beam search works.
That's nice.
Yeah. Output logits, it then takes the top 30 and does something with it. So yeah, I think well, there you have it, JSON former. And it works with any model that you can run locally.
Yeah.
And
someone should expand that. Like, JSON is one obvious thing, right? But like,
Yeah, but I think because you can turn the JSON into anything else in the next step.
Mhm.
That would be useful, like with the models that we run on the vector engine or anything.
Yeah.
Just to have that as an option, in particular if you wanted to call something. So it could be quite useful if you use it with, what's its name? With our agent platform.
Yeah. Like, so one of the things I have an experiment of is kind of using these models to navigate a maze, right? So I have a perceive phase and then an action phase, and in the perceive phase, I kind of want it to say something specific, right? Like I need it to generate some information for itself so that when it chooses the next action, it chooses the correct one. And then when it's in the action phase, well, I want it to choose a very specific action, and it might not. It could be a JSON thing, right? And then we just use JSON forward. But like, if the choices are up, down, left, right, I really don't want it to say anything else, right? So if I can, give it these specific choices and then just pick of these 4 choices, which is the one that has the highest aggregate probability, and then just don't care about the rest of what the agent has to say, that could work. The problem is also that it might have to be something of a mix of this JSON former and guidance, because the models do kind of use their output as a space to think. And so if you ask the output, what are 3 options that you can do, and then finally pick the most appropriate one, it will list out 3 different options and then pick one. And if you do this right, it doesn't always happen that way, but like, at least when I've been experimenting with translation on 7B, which isn't really good enough for translation, if I give it the space to kind of come up with 3 different alternatives, it sometimes does better than if I just tell it, translate this sentence, right? So, just taking, so let's say we have these movement directions, right? North, south, east, west. Those are just one token. So if I'm like waiting the model's output on just that one token, but the model wants to say, that's interesting, let me think about that. Well, if I go this direction, then north will be, or if that was back then I want to go north now, right? Like that thinking process. If I do the regular expression and try to find north, and then pick, okay, this guy chose north, then that's smart. But like, if it's trying to output, let me think, and I'm looking at the probabilities for north, south, east, west, they might be close to 0, and I get a random output. So it's complicated, for sure. Yeah, having it come up with 3 alternatives is something I do a lot. It's like one of the easiest hacks to do. I'm trying to find something that works really well with Llama 7, where first I ask it, generate 3 alternatives. Then I ask it, now edit the alternatives, like edit each alternative to be better. And then in the final step, pick the best alternative. And when it works, it's great, magical. But sometimes the alternatives, it picks 3 terrible things. And then the edits, it just makes it worse. And then when it finally picks something, it usually picks the worst one. And that's unfortunate. You got to come up with something more sophisticated than that. And I don't have Llama 2 either. But there are ways to get it. Let me post it in the chat, because the blog stuff is really good. And that's what I use. Ah, yeah, we don't have Llama 2 working on the vector engine. I mean, we do. We'll have to upload a Hugging Face later. Remind me to do that, because I think we did that, right? We totally did the 7B conversion.
Yeah, that worked fine.
Yeah. So we should upload that to Hugging Face so people can do that, and then Facebook could then sue us for stuff later. That's probably fine. Probably.
Let's see whether I can. It's kind of a stupid thing that I'm trying to do there. It's not meant to work that way. And I'm probably doing it on the wrong page. Yeah.
Where is the add function or add tool button?
There is no add tool button at the moment. I'm just trying.
Really?
Oh yeah. There is also an enable tool function. Yeah. Okay. The way how I did that here is not supposed to work. Tool store update. That's really okay, so what we want to do here is we want to use the current value and going to map if it's going to enable is true, and otherwise we just return. Actually, so we are toggling. It's yeah, like that. And kernel map rules. Way to do it. Failed to execute put on could not be cloned. What? That should work.
That should work is a phrase that happens a lot in the JavaScript world.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let's go here. So we have our item type. And when we update things, we have our thing, we get the current value, we run the updater with the thing, we get the new value, we set the item, So that should be okay. Why would that fail? I mean, yeah, the thing is modifying IndexedDB. It has the await. Is that in any ways... No, that value we get from the actual, well, the current store value, so there's no need to await something. That means it fails while waiting on this. Let's open this up a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, that is the anonymous async, I guess. I mean, could also be. Function. I don't need to put function if it's written like that. Async set. Okay, let's see whether we get any better information. I mean, that is literally toolstore update that we call. And it is, now we clicked on that, we have that click handler, we go here, and then, yeah, in set item, it is complaining. It says that it could not be cloned. Oh, yeah, obviously. Right. So the thing that doesn't work in here is kind of obvious once you, well, it is complaining that it cannot put a function, which I literally have here as yeah, the thing that runs when we do our thing. It cannot serialize a function into IndexedDB. That makes sense. Okay.
You can get the source.
Yeah, the way how that is supposed to work is different anyway. Like at the moment I have functions in here. Yeah, it was the easiest way to set those things up. Can I kind of easily get that resolved? So if we have this function, can I get the source code of that function? Would that work?
It depends on the browser, but yes, you can. I think all the browsers do it the normal way now.
Let's see. supposedly it's
On toString on a function should return.
like that.
Yeah. It's like a debugging thing. It's not standard, but I'm pretty sure it should work.
So we'd have that. Yeah, those don't have a function. Wikipedia tool and calculator. Okay, so if we do it like that, that means in here, exec, and we would run and await eval. Something like that. Let's see how badly broken it is now.
Hacks upon hacks.
Okay. Reload. Cannot read properties of undefined history. So okay, so I don't need the prototype thing in there.
Function.toString.
Okay. So we can have a new conversation. What is the sum of cannot read properties of null? Reading messages. Okay. I guess that may be a broken conversation that I had before. Oh, hey, fun. Break things beyond repair. Okay, so it is choosing things. It's calling execute calculation and could not pass the result. Wait, that doesn't. ChatGPT is like, yeah, I don't care. This is easy enough.
That's something that could happen with GPT-4 in particular.
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed that this, was kind of supposed to also include reason. So go. Let's see whether that will fail again. Because Makes sense if it fails on this thing that we just changed. Okay, here we are. Reference error. Tool output is not defined. I mean, tool output is not defined. Where is tool output even used within this? Oh, it is from within that thing. Okay, so we are using the calculator. Ah, yes, tool output is not defined when this thing is evaled. That makes sense. However, how do we provide any additional library functions here?
To
How do
functions
we
that the
want
people are
to do
making.
that? So yeah, so if
Do you
there's
know?
like this tool output that we have here, it's a nifty little helper that produces, you know, role and content and kind of additional prefix suffix things. And that is likely to be something that's very useful for what we want to do. I mean, we could have something stupid, expert const tool API. That could have, that could like include this, and then we can have our API here. Use API.tool output, and for the other one have the same. And then where we are calling it, then we can have
Yeah, 1 sec. I'm gonna restart my computer. I'll be right back.
okay. So if we do it like that, then we have the option. This one. Okay. So refresh. Save and fork, run. Then stuff is running. And it is still complaining. Okay, that makes sense because now it has loaded that stuff from our index.db. So inside here we need to clear the tools and reload. So when we save and fork this and run it, we get another try. Okay, now it's saying, well, tool name, wait. Tool name is not defined. Method, sorry. Method. Yeah. Okay, we collected the method previously and that's out of scope. But we should be able to have the tool still. Okay, so we have the tool, we have the methods, we have the source, and there it's actually using the tool name. Again, absolutely makes sense that the tool name like isn't available. It's a bit annoying from our point of view here, but it makes sense. It isn't available because we're just saving the code, but I guess when we're doing it that way, it makes sense. We could actually make the tool name available through the API that we pass here. So let's continue with the mucking around with things. And here, our tool API. So it's tool API and this tool.name. Okay, so once again, we bring up that and its debugger. We need to once again clean out the tools and refresh. And now we can go here. And is it? Yeah. It worked. Great. A nice thing here is kind of we asked what is the sum of that, and kind of ChatGPT came up with the fact that it actually needs to put pluses in between. So if you were like, what is the greatest common it's common factor of, let's take 3, 5, and 15. I have no idea whether that will use anything useful. And what do we get? I expect that it will likely yeah, it's like math.gcd. And I mean, the result obviously is wrong here. It tried to use something that it doesn't have available, so that's why it failed. But that also means that, first of all, I need to add the button for tools. Okay, so with that out of the way, it means that we now have tools that we can enable and disable, and the store doesn't doesn't complain about that. And that means that when we are choosing tools, we should use them a bit better. So let's see, where am I using tools directly? 1, 2. Okay, in 2 places we have that. That's not too bad. Const active. So dot yes, actually get from the tool store, tools, delta, tools, only those that are enabled. And with that, do we have the tool store imported here? Oh, we actually have. That's nice. And we can grab this particular thing.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, cool. So let's say we only want to have the calculator enabled. Actually, one more step. Honestly, why even do it that way if we can be a bit nicer about it? Active tools. So let's go to our Technologic store. Ah, yeah, that's why. But we still could. It's just a bit more complicated. You equal the thing. Item store and active tools is type of object is unknown. Well, that's fine for me, at least for now. So active tools will give us our active tools, and with that we can actually check whether there are any active tools at all. So if there are no active tools, we should, there are none. We shouldn't see anything come up here. So call me a jerk about streaming development programs. Okay. Do not read properties of undefined. Reading length. Okay, so it got undefined here. That's a little annoying.
So much TypeScript, so little types.
Yeah, so much TypeScript, so little types. Let's have tools. Should filter that. Oh, yeah. If you forget your return, that's what you get. Okay, so let's try again. And we have that here. Yeah, now it doesn't even try to use any tools. Now let's go and enable the calculator and ask it, who is the CEO of YouTube? So it now tries to do something. It sees that there's only a calculator available. It says, well, no tool has been selected, nothing that fits that thing. And then it just, answers the question.
Cool.
So now we can go here and also enable the encyclopedia. Okay, is that a new thing? Who is the CEO of YouTube? And as you can see, we have both of the tools available here now. And it actually uses... Oh, so it tries to do the query, but that fails. There are so many reasons why that could fail. Most likely because the source code... Come again?
It fails, but then just makes it up? Because
Yeah.
it kind of knows. I see.
So one thing, it's a little bit annoying that it doesn't kind of include. Well, I mean, I didn't include it until now, so the annoyingness is on my side, I guess. Let's try again, so it can maybe give us the exception. I expect that the reason is because it is trying to use something in the extracted source code. Ah, come on! I asked you to include the exception. Why don't you do this?
Actually, I kind of wonder if we want to, like, if you can add your own functions. Do we want to include the exception in the main UI? I mean, it's always just a right-click inspect away. So.
Yeah, when you include your own thing, it's kind of a right-click inspect away. Well, that's annoying because now I've added the thing to be in here, and it, for whatever reason, doesn't include it in the output here. So let's try again. I mean, most likely it is due to the way how I vector space ID is not defined at eval. Yeah. Oh, that's so annoying. I mean, it makes absolute sense, but it is so annoying. Yeah, okay. So the thing is defined from here, right? We have the base URL, vector space ID, and for anyone who cares, that is a public token to look up Wikipedia stuff on vector. And when we get the source code of this function, it doesn't include those things, right? I mean, for anyone who would define their things through the UI, this annoyance right now doesn't make any difference, because they would have to do it anyway. So they would have to define that stuff anyway. But for me, right now, it's so annoying. Okay, so...
Do we need to have like a values page or something to... that is annoying.
I mean, it is only annoying right now for us because the way how it was set up. Like the once we have the UI going and stuff, there will be plenty of cleanup work to do. Like we've hacked. Oh come on! Why is it complaining about vector space ID not being there again?
Did you break vector?
No. It should be... probably some kind of reuse of old state in here. Now I'm a bit confused. It should be setting that stuff here. Okay, let's give it a few refreshes and okay. So enable that. Now it's here. Yeah, delete that message. Try again. Code block not defined at eval. Yeah, that is kind of the annoying thing here now. So yeah, I'm pulling code block from somewhere. Yeah, it's like one of the things here. So let's like just a utility function to put something in a code block. I think that part of it should be fine-ish. But that means, okay, finish that. Application, get rid of the tools, refresh. On the tools, enable them and remove that and try again. And once that works, we know that it works well enough that we can move on to creating a UI for defining your own tools. Cool. That worked well enough. Actually, is Susan still the CEO of YouTube?
Let's see what Wikipedia said.
Yeah, it's Neil Mohan now, apparently. Or
Yeah.
means the data in our Wikipedia dump is old.
When did he do that?
Yeah, I think the Wikipedia dump is kind
February
of late 2022 or something like that.
Yeah, he became your placer in February 16th of this year.
Yeah. Okay, so tools and editing them. So first of all, we need the tool details. Using tool store tools, the one with part page. That's what kit store. I don't remember. So, but it should be yeah, that's why I don't remember. Import that from the app stores. And I should be able to so with that, let's have tool name and okay, that appears to work. So our next step is, what do we even have on the tool? Like, what's name, explanation, and methods? We don't really need the tool icon and that, because it is editable, it's a text area. Do we even care about that being an AP? I think we don't. Not exactly the biggest thing ever, well, the nicest one ever. It's now a class text area on it. That looks nicer, and give it a little bit of padding.
It would be kind of cool if it was like an editor, not necessarily Monaco, but isn't there like a?
I mean, for the description or the explanation for the thing, I think that's okay. Stuff that Copilot generates is so pointless.
Sometimes, yeah. A lot of the times, maybe.
Okay, so we can have label will code. And yeah, we can have fun. Let me think quickly. There are things. Is there? Like, did someone actually do the work already for Monaco? Like in a way that it works? If you want to swell tools in Monaco. Okay, I think that's a little bit too much. What we probably want to use is like an ACE editor based thing, right? And with a base editor, yeah, ACE editor based thing, I did that previously. I just need to remember how exactly. Ah, right. So npm install brace and swell ACE. Brace is kind of a variant of the ACE editor for the browser. And we can have that. So let's see. How did that thing work again? So let me think. It was kind of like. Why doesn't it want to do any completions? Probably it's just annoyed that I'm doing TypeScript but ignoring it for well, everything. So let's have just an ACE editor. And we're going to set the value to this tool function source. And let's do a few more things. Lang is going to be JavaScript, and theme is going to be Chrome. Let's set that to 100%. Height is 400 pixels. Is probably enough. We probably need to import the theme, but this should not be empty. Why is that empty? So tools. We have a tool. Okay, that's not the best. Oh yeah, yes, obviously. Oh. It is empty because it doesn't exist. Code exists per method. So what we need to have here then is like each tool methods. Yes, map. I'm gonna write that. So method name. And that's source. And there we go. And ideally we would probably, so why, two things. Why is the highlighting not working? Is Lang like JS or something stupid like this? Do you have the theme? It is complete.
I had the feeling you had to pick up.
I mean, it is complaining about a syntax error here.
It doesn't know.
So let's have a. So. Okay, it is complaining about it because when it tries to load that language, it is getting like something. It doesn't
find it.
Load the thing that it thinks it is loading.
It needs like a language definition file.
Yeah, the language definition file apparently is missing. So
maybe like a TextMate bundle or something like that.
Let's see. It should be here. In principle, JavaScript should be available. Now let's bring this up again and take a look at the network. So, well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it tries to, import stuff from, it tries to import that file, but that file doesn't exist in that place. Right.
You have to copy it from the lib?
I think I have to import it like that. Yeah.
Importing it should get it into the bundle.
And it is complaining. Eval can be harmful. Yes, it can.
It's like, yes, I know.
Unrecoverable syntax error. Why?
Is there a mode? Like, what you're writing there is pretty new when it comes to JavaScript. Maybe you have to say ECMAScript or something.
Oh, that's true. Let me see if there is an ECMAScript here. I don't see it.
See if there's a TypeScript. That should be good enough. Or like,
but then someone tries to do TypeScript and.
No, I mean, like you know, JavaScript is valid TypeScript, so you have the language set as TypeScript, it should be able to do both. And if we include the TypeScript compiler, we can then
Do actual TypeScript. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that appears to work.
Mm.
So now we need to I mean, we could take a look at the other themes there are.
Is there a more purpley theme?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. So there we have the Ace editor. And yeah, how-to guides. You could literally just, you know, open up themes. You could pick up, you know, something like Twilight or Vibrant Ink or something like that.
Twilight. If I know what Twilight looks like, that is probably a good one.
I'm starting with Vibrant Ink, which is just, you know, dark mode.
Mhm.
Twilight. So that big light. Okay, let's see whether that. Yeah, I mean, it's a dark mode editor.
Let me see. I know there's a purple, like a real purple one.
Tomorrow, maybe.
Preview.
Ambience, chaos, TextMate. Tomorrow night 80s.
Tomorrow night blue. Close. 80s is just black.
Oh, okay.
Solarized dark is more green, but it's in the right, like,
Oh, we could go with that. That kind of looks okay-ish.
yeah. I'm gonna go through the Dracula's kind of purpley. Let me go from the top. Okay, so Chrome, Clouds, Crimson, Dawn, Dreamweaver, Eclipse, Black Plastic, Solarized Light. Solarized Light is good except for it's yellow.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Here we can easily check things.
Yeah.
So, ambience.
Dracula might be the closest one.
Yeah, Dracula. Cobalt doesn't look too bad, but it's more blue.
Yeah. Nord Dark is kind of purple.
Yeah, not dark. I think not dark is nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Is it not included in the package that I have? It is not. That's annoying.
Okay.
So, one dark pastel. Yeah, tomorrow night blue is okay. Or could go with cobalt, which is kind of bluish.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dracula. I mean, doesn't really matter. It's just playing with how things look like. And this is kind of very far from done.
Yeah.
So
close.
as we are very far from done, because we kind of want to be able to change the name of the tool, the explanation. We want to modify the methods and the code and the parameters that thing takes. And we're not even rendering the parameters yet. So, let's see. We get that here. Application tools. Oh, come on. Just because I'm okay, so let's refresh this and have that available. Okay, so our method. Oh, and we have examples along the thing too. Okay, so it's not parameters, arguments. And for every argument, we actually want to have three things. Name, doc, and type. So name, text, text. Well, is arc name. Then we have type, arc type, and description. Still long. In there. That. Yeah. Yeah, type undefined makes sense because we don't actually know the type yet. We have the function source, and we also want to have the examples. I guess we'll go for examples below. So
I might head out in a few minutes because it's late and I have class tomorrow. These are funny things.
I'm not sure how long I'm going to do this. I kind of want to at least keep it going to the point where we can have like one custom defined tool.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, yeah, it's also getting a bit late here. Anyway, let's have an example. Just copy that stuff from here. And we have input and output. And it's complaining. Yes, it says it iterates only. Oh, yes, obviously. The same obviously as always. It's not tool.examples, it's methods.examples.
When are we going to get AI that does that? You just write the wrong
Examples for the thing.
No, like that, where if you write the wrong thing, it just goes, nope, you meant method.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that would be so much more useful than what Copilot does at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are showing the entirety of the thing. And I mean, if we go to like the encyclopedia instead, we can see it does a lot more stuff in here now. Interesting that I mean, it kind of makes sense that it is renaming things, because it has, it pulls the source code in the form how it looks like after the TypeScript compiler had its way with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that wouldn't be the case for like normal people.
Yeah, for like a normal user it wouldn't be, right? Okay, so make everything editable. So
okay,
at the moment,
I'll leave you to that, and I'll head out. See you later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for helping me today.
No problem.
Okay, so now it's going to be just me. I'm trying to keep an eye on chat, but yeah, as I'm doing things, I can get a bit distracted with doing things. So where are we? Okay, so we should be able to be rather cheeky about it. Yeah, Freeman, I think just like a code-specific thing just for your own code. You can probably pick up like an existing pre-trained model, something like any 7B model. If you train it on your code, like fine-tune it on your code, that could work. But yeah, that's kind of just speculation for now. So I wonder if I do this like that. So I change the thing, and I'm going to force, I can enable or re-enable of that. I mean, I've bound the example to the thing. I'm technically changing the object directly. If I then force things like that, will that do something? Well, first of all, I'm going to need a button. Exactly. Here's a button and click on save. So by doing this, we see that this tells me that the data that I'm looking at may be stale. So if we pull out the encyclopedia here, has it? It has. Oh, that's nice. That means that I don't necessarily need to do the entire dance of changing the variable in the updater. I can just change it in place and then trigger a write on the store. That's nice. Okay. So first of all, save that back. And now we need another button. That will be a green example. Maybe a divider or something between things, so it's a bit more easier to see. And below that, we will have a button that will add an example. So that will click. So Freeman is asking, do you know how the lookup stuff in a vector DB works technically? Actually, I do. I've given an entire talk about that. What exactly do you want to know? Like the lookup with the brute force lookup is very simple. It's if you're using for example, cosine similarity on normalized vectors, it is literally a dot product followed by an argmax. If you are using kind of an approximate method, there are a few different ones, but it all comes down to, find things that are in, in the neighborhood of the query vector. And there are different ways of doing that. We want to have the methods there too. So Freeman is continuing the question. The key vector is provided by the database and it looks up the value then. Not really. So in a regular vector database, you have to provide the key vector. So however you create that vector, that's kind of up to you. And that means also that if you want to vectorize it with the model, like you select the model and you then produce that key vector. Or the query vector, really. The key vectors then are kind of the things that you save in the database. Yeah, even at inference time, you just pick up, well, you still have to vectorize your query, and then, well, you have saved all the vectors for everything else, and then you know, look things up based on what's in the neighborhood. Why doesn't that work? Because we are running it based off this. So, to continue Freeman's questions, there are key and the value. And then the alarm making use of it generates the query. Okay, you kind of I need to try to understand what you're really asking here. Oh, nice. Eduardo is still around, so he's answering the question too. But in principle, what you put in your vector database is usually like the vector and some metadata. And when you have your when you're querying it, you provide some kind of query vector, and then you get you know, the top few results. And that usually gives you like the similarity to the query vector and the metadata that goes along with it. So if you just put the ID with it, then, well, you get an ID, and you can use that to query some other, you know, relational database or something like that. So that is kind of the very basic thing. What we are doing kind of with this tool, for example, and that is something that well, I wouldn't say that only Vector does, but Vector is kind of a non-conventional vector database in this case, because Vector includes the model. So in Vector, you just send some raw data there, and you get a response based on that. So in Vector, you go through the model which vectorizes it, which can be like an LLM or a different model, and then it does the lookup, and then it does the answer. So in a regular vector database, so something like Pinecone, for example, you would have to have your own model, and you do the vectorization on your own, and then you just work with the vectors there. I hope that was enough explanation. What if we make it derived? Then you can't really modify it. And yeah, guess we're not modifying the base thing. It's not updating it here. Always annoying to kind of work on things that way. So, okay, if we force a save on every step, then we then so what is complaining about now? Each only iterates over array likes. Yeah, so Freeman continues the questions. Yeah, LLMs are usually multiple transformer layers. Do you use a separate table for each transformer usually? No. So you create a single embedding, like a single vector based on the output of the LLM, which is if you it depends on the LLM you use. Sometimes it has an output that is meant to be used as an embedding. Sometimes it would produce a set of embeddings, like multiple outputs that it would otherwise use to define the words that come out of it. But you can also take the average of that and use that as the vector that you put into your database. Okay, so what was I doing? We have add example. Method examples is not terrible. I think I have broken something here. So let's clean up the database and click add example. And with that still works. And we have examples. I refresh, they are still there because we are, modifying things in place. That means that I probably did something wrong when trying to remove things. Yeah, that was probably it, like the exclamation mark was in the wrong place. And oh, yeah, fine, it should be filtered. And okay, it still is complaining that each only iterates over array like objects. Why would it do that? Add example, yeah, it's like method.examples is not iterable. But if we take a look here, oh, interesting. The entirety of examples is gone. Okay, remove it, refresh it, And we're back in action. Okay, now that this works properly, we can do the next step, I guess. Yeah, 3 minutes asking, are some layers harder in terms of query performance on the database? The layers don't really do anything in the database. So, I mean, if you're using some earlier layers from the transformer to create the embedding or the vector, then you could say that going all the end through the transformer makes it, it uses more resources. But usually you use an entire model, not just like a few of the initial layers to do the vectorization process. And in that case, it really doesn't matter. Rather, once you have the vector, it doesn't really affect the query performance at all in the database. Oh, and I just noticed that I'm out of frame. So, yeah. Okay, so editing, add and remove examples works. I guess we can just bind the value for the code, and now we can, modify the code, hit save, refresh, and the code is modified. Okay, nice. So the same thing with the bind should be good enough for here and here. And I guess the same approach with add argument. Transformers use softmax, not argmax. If you could train an LLM that uses argmax, should that hurt, improve, or not impact model performance? So argmax just says what is the biggest value, whereas softmax is a function that takes a bunch of values and kind of turns that into a probability distribution. And it's not a linear kind of transformation, because it normalizes things while doing so. If all you want to, and usually kind of if you do a greedy decoding, then you take the thing that has the highest probability. But well, if you do some other kind of if you use some other kind of decoding, then you kind of sample based on the probability distribution. So I'd say that the softmax is, I mean, argmax is not a not a transformation function at all, right? It is literally a selection function. So like argmax tells me what is the index of the highest value, whereas softmax, when applied to the thing, it transforms the thing. So yeah, argmax literally is not something that is not something that you can put in place of a softmax. Okay, so roll that for add argument. String, group argument. Save, refresh. Cool. Man, that page is so ugly, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, making it look pretty will be something to do off stream. So then the next thing, we can create add arguments to a method, we can add examples, we can modify the code. So next thing is to add add method function. And a remove method function. That the remove method should probably ask the user whether they are really sure about it. Save. The way how this is currently implemented is so bad. But we're kind of hacking in something. There's, well, as I've said, again, so much to clean up after this stream. But whoever wants to play with it will be able to play with it. So, Premium, in my understanding, one hot vector of argmax x is a really sharp version of argmax. Are you sure that... I think we are talking about two different things when we talk about argmax. So, there is this thing, right? And there is NumPy argmax. So let's bring this back. So argmax returns the int of the maximum entry. Okay, so we're talking about the same thing then, right? We're not talking about this. We're talking about the NumPy argmax thing that gives us the index of the maximum value. So your one hot vector argmax x is, you know, a vector that has a 1 exactly where there is, well, where the maximum value is, right? So you were comparing that to softmax, which is kind of a probability distribution over x. The reason why you can't train that way, so with a one hot vector of argmax, is that you lose a lot of information. Because you kind of trim away any chance of knowing how much something contributed to the output. So because it's kind of it's not even that it's not differentiable, because back propagation kind of works through that in a way. The thing is really like all you have is you have a 1 where a 0 should be, maybe, and you have a 0 when where a 1 should be, like if we say that it's the wrong result. In that case, you kind of lose a lot of information, because it would everywhere where it is correct, so there is a 0 where where a 0 should be, you have 0 signal for how things should change, even though this thing could be like 0, like you have an output that is just slightly less than the maximum. That means you get a 0 at that point. And you literally lose all information about that. Because to the loss function, it looks like, oh, this output is perfectly fine. And that means that your training gets, well, either it will not work or it is really, really slow. Because it essentially only trains 2 outputs at a time. And on a large language model, you have as many outputs as you have tokens, or token embeddings. So that could easily be a few hundred thousand. And you're, it's just not efficient for the training. Okay, so where was I? Yes, add method. And at the moment, add method doesn't do anything. No. It should. Let's refresh this. Let's see how I broke this now. No. Well, kind of. Not at all, and a lot at the same time. So, examples. It's empty, and it's empty too. So, add method, add example. Cool. Getting closer. So the method name is actually also an input. And only the method name. And the tool name is technically also an input, because we can rename things. Okay, so if you could train a network based on using only the maximum value as 1 and everything else as 0, would you expect the model to be worse, or should it matter? Well, my argument is that you can't train it to the same loss value. Because, like, in practical terms, the training would not actually work. But let's assume it would work. You say you can, but if it would be useful, like if that training would actually work, you would expect that someone would have tried it by now. I mean, because you're getting a different gradient for that. I expect, so it's kind of if you're saying, well, if you can train it to the same loss, would it be any different? If it is the exactly same loss, I guess it wouldn't matter. But I think you actually cannot get there. Yeah. Let's see. Refresh that. Oh, yeah, interesting. As soon as we change the name, things kind of fail because we select the thing based on the name. Let's see. People are doing this training for relos to certify properties. And maybe I'm not getting exactly what you mean. Because yeah, I don't quite follow there. The trick is you rewrite the argmax as a statement using reals and booleans, and use a mixed integer linear programming solver to find an integer assignment which satisfies the max over Rx term. And I'm pretty sure that this is certainly not more efficient to do than calculating a softmax. But we are kind of getting out of my expertise as, yeah, mixed integer linear programming solvers aren't exactly the thing that I would know about. Right, so back to this. So actually finding the tool is the inference is cheap, the training is expensive. With softmax, the training is already very expensive. So making training even more expensive isn't necessarily the best idea. And yeah, like if you're using it for a vector database lookup, you don't even care about the softmax. That is part of the thing that you cut off. And yeah, if you are doing like a sampling kind of approach, then you actually need the softmax again. So yeah, using just the most probable one, which argmax would give you, is literally a greedy decoding approach, and that well, doesn't work as well as a beam search one. Okay, so how do we fix the fact that changing the name breaks things the way how it's currently implemented? I guess we can derive the index of the thing. So Freeman says one benefit is that you can globally optimally solve the problem. What problem are you talking about now? Okay, so the idea that I'm trying to do here now is kind of maybe even have, yeah. Come on, why is my IntelliSense not working today? Is there a find index? Yeah, there is. And with that, we can just work based off the index that we found initially. I think that should work. And obviously we need to import derived. So just start. Okay. Oh, yeah. Works like that, I think. If it doesn't, let's see. Okay. Index is supposedly 0. So restore tools. Index is undefined. No, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so it is picking up the more context tool here. That, however, also doesn't make any sense. And yeah, sure. Actually need to compare things. And with this, we're back in the game. And can I rename things now? No, like, we're safe. Obviously, if I refresh, this thing is now gone, but it shows up here. Press save, go back. There we have it. Cool. So we have something, not necessarily the greatest thing, but we have something that allows us to edit our thing. So let's remove that. Oh, we're still missing the remove method. So we have add method. No, we do have the function remove method. It's kind of, yeah, I know. Stuff is currently all over the place. And we also haven't added a remove method button yet. So where should we put it? I guess under the name is probably good enough. Yeah. Okay. Remove method, and now we're back to our kind of clean-ish thing. So, going with that, we can now go to the probably most interesting thing, and that is go here and add a add tool button. The thing that we wanted right from the beginning of this stream. So, okay, let's get that. So we have toggle tool, and what we need now is function add tool. And what we're going to do here is, well, first of all, let's have a button to do this. Add tool. Click. Going to add a tool. And that will that will be point tool store and add a new tool. And to make things simpler, at least for now, we're going to add just a number, which will ensure that the tool that we add has a unique name. But we also need, so when we are editing a tool that was added that way, we probably will also need a delete tool button then. So enable, it's false, it's empty, and we add a remove tool button. Very pretty. Let's have it as naive. Yeah, I can remove like a trash, will be called. Sure. Yeah, let's remove that one. And we haven't defined it yet. Makes sense. Yeah, well, essentially the same thing, only that This time we are removing filter. Is it triggering toggle and remove at the same time? I guess so. Let's put it side by side. Yeah. Ugly as all hell, but it works. Okay. So, explanation. So let's have a simple tool. What kind of tool could we want to have? That is I think a pretty good question. What kind of tool do we want to have? I mean, we can redo the calculator. Yes, calculator 2. Go over here, rename that calculator to old, and save that. Go back here, and that's our calculator now. It has a calculate method. And well, calculation. We keep that. Type is string. A simple function. Other calculation. Example is 1 plus 1 is 2. Another example is 7 minus 3 is 4. So let's take a look at our tools. Enable the calculator, start a new conversation, and be like, hello, what is the sum of 1 to 10? And if you look at the console now, it has picked up our new tool. It has given the examples, and it has actually produced the calculation for the calculator as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like plus all that together. The calculator has done the actual summing, and we have an output. So, in just under 4 hours, we have added support for custom tool support in Technologic. At the moment, it is ugly as all hell, but you can go and create your new tools. Like, I don't know, maybe your tool wants to look up your emails or do something different. For now, yeah, this is obviously very ugly. And we will improve it over the coming days. But we have it. And, well, because it takes a while, it takes some additional thought. It has taken us quite a while to get there. So let's take a look at the questions that Freeman has come up with, and then we'll finish the stream. So, let's see. Let F be our neural network, depending on real number arrays W, beta, and gamma. We can write down a mathematical description of argmax x1, x2 using 2 additional Boolean variables, using the additional constraints b1 plus b2 equals 1 and x minus m times b1 is bigger than x2 and x minus m times b2 is bigger or equal to x1, where m is some constant bigger than x1 and x2. If you for b1, b2 to take the integers 0 or 1, you and still find a solution for x1, x2, then b1, b2 will be return values of one hot vector of that thing. So we can write down matrix multiplies and argmax and have a mathematical solver find an assignment such that the equations posed hold. You can now pose the MILP optimization problem, minimize the sum for all training data, and each training sample will have its booleans. And you get what? The mlib solver guarantees that it will return an assignment for W beta gamma and all the bools and the objectives minimized. Okay, so from a theoretical standpoint, let's just assume that everything there is true. Then the practical issue is there, right? If you have a practical system that does that, is this in any case like any better than what we have right now? So that is, if we have our backpropagation set up, will that be any more useful than if we have the same setup with a softmax? Because the softmax gives us additional things, especially when you're working with language, because sometimes you don't want the most the most likely value. Sometimes you want to also see the other values. What else is probable. Very recently I've worked on a thing where exactly that was quite necessary, to know what is also very probable. So in principle, if all you care about is only the maximum, I guess, yeah, those things would be kind of equivalent. But if you care about the other things, what else could be probable? If you have like a 51-49% situation, maybe you really care about that. I mean, trying out different things, whether they are interesting to be trained, is interesting, obviously. I mean, in principle, trying things out is a good thing. That's what I'd say. I would always say that gaining more knowledge is, as long as no one is really harmed by it, is a good thing. But usually it's trade-off, right? We currently have things that where a lot of money has been spent to make it work well. You could have it. So yeah, a lot of money has been spent to make it work well, and we are getting useful things out of it. Other methods, there is the XLSTM thing from I always forget his name. That's kind of one of his biggest pet peeves with AI people, that everyone forgets about him all the time. Sepp Hochreiter, the German computer scientist who has invented everything that we're using 20 years ago. And he is also, the guy behind LSTMs. Or is it Hochreiter who I'm thinking of? It probably is. But there is kind of this XLSTM thing that hasn't been published as research, but they're claiming that it's going to be a lot better than the GPTs. Yeah. And Schmidt-Huber is the one who I was thinking of. But Sepp Hochreiter is kind of working on the XLSTM things. Schmidt-Huber is the one whose name kind of escaped me. So that is some like, if you keep track of Schmidt-Huber, you will know what will be the thing to look at in 20 years, probably. And they do kind of the other things, or kind of the things that are a bit non-mainstream, and usually they become mainstream at some point when someone else rediscovers it. So working on the non-mainstream things is useful. I'd say that at least. So with this small rambling, I guess, I think I'll call it quits. Close to 4 hours stream is good enough for me. We got things done. Tomorrow probably I'll look into making it look nice, and maybe think of other ideas how we can include the tool output in here. And ideally what I'd like to have is something where there is kind of a meta thing where a tool can decide to use an additional tool before creating the full output. But for now, I'm probably not going to commit it directly on that branch. I'll put that on a different branch, but you can go to the ExpressAI GitHub and get this thing in all its ugliness if you want to, and try to play around with it if you want. So very much for watching today, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.